stood in the living room, surrounded by the people who were supposed to be my family. My brother's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Get out of this house." He said it with that arrogant smirk he always wore when he knew Mom and Dad would back him up. I looked at them, expecting even a flicker of hesitation, maybe guilt, but they just exchanged a smug glance, as if my humiliation was part of some long-awaited plan finally unfolding. It wasn't sudden, not really. The tension had been building for years, ever since I stopped being the convenient helper and started saying no. I'd pay bills when they couldn't. I'd cooked meals, fixed the car, and covered for my brother more times than I could count. But none of that mattered now. To them, he was still the golden child, the one who had potential. I remember my mother crossing her arms, whispering to Dad, "He brought this on himself." My father nodded, avoiding my eyes. That silence told me everything. I wasn't family anymore. I packed my small bag quietly, my hands shaking but my face calm. As I reached for the door, I heard my brother chuckle behind me, "You'll come crawling back." I didn't answer. I stepped into the cold night, letting the door close behind me. For the first time in years, the air felt clean. I didn't know where I'd go or how I'd start over, but I knew one thing for sure. I was done begging for a place in a house that never wanted me. The first few days were the hardest. I crashed on a friend's couch, trying to piece together what had just happened. My whole life had been centered around that house. My responsibilities, my routines, my identity. Without it, I felt hollow. But that emptiness didn't last long. It slowly turned into focus. I started taking freelance design gigs online, working late into the night. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to get me into a small apartment. I learned to cook for one, to wake up without guilt, and to live without waiting for someone's approval. The quiet that used to feel suffocating became peaceful. Months passed. My work grew, clients doubled, then tripled. One of my projects went viral online, and a startup reached out. Within a year, I had a stable income, a team, and something I never had before: respect. People saw me for what I could do, not for what I could give them. Then, one evening I got a call. It was my mother. Her voice trembled as she said, "Your father's business, it's gone. We might lose the house." I stayed silent. She continued, "Your brother doesn't have a job. We don't know what to do." I remembered that smug look, that command, "Get out of this house." And now, that house was slipping away from them. A part of me wanted to hang up. Another part, the one that still carried pieces of love beneath the scars, hesitated. I told her I'd think about it. That night, I stared at the ceiling, wondering why I still cared. The next week, I visited. The house looked smaller than I remembered. My brother was pale, desperate. My father avoided my gaze again, but not out of pride this time. Out of shame. My mother cried quietly at the table. I sat across from them and said, "You threw me out. You made your choice. Now you live with it." My brother muttered something about family, but I cut him off. Family doesn't throw you out when you're no longer useful. As I stood to leave, my father whispered, "We were wrong." I paused, but didn't respond. Some wounds don't heal with apologies. They just stop bleeding when you stop touching them. Walking away that day, I realized I wasn't angry anymore, just free. Months after that confrontation, I thought the chapter was closed. I focused on my business, expanding it into something bigger than I'd ever imagined. What started as freelance work had turned into a small company, 10 employees, clients from 3 countries, and a steady stream of projects that kept us busy year-round. But peace doesn't always stay quiet. One night, around 11 p.m., there was a knock on my apartment door. I opened it and froze. It was my brother. His hair was unkempt, his eyes red. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, We lost the house. Behind him stood my parents. They looked older, smaller. The pride that once filled every room they stood in had evaporated. My mother clutched a folder full of papers, bank notices. I assumed. My father couldn't even meet my eyes. "Can we come in?" she asked softly. I hesitated, but stepped aside. They sat down, awkwardly, as if they were in a stranger's home. My father finally spoke, his voice gravelly. "We treated you like you didn't matter, and now it feels like we don't matter to anyone." For a while, I didn't respond. The silence was heavy. Then I said, "You didn't just throw me out of that house. You threw me out of this family. I built something from nothing because I had to, and now you come here because you have nothing." My brother, once arrogant and cruel, looked down. "I'm sorry," he muttered. "I thought I was better than you. Turns out I can't even stand on my own." Something inside me cracked, not in anger, but in understanding. Life had already punished them in ways I never could. They didn't need revenge. They needed reality, and they had it. I didn't scream. I didn't gloat. Instead, I stood and said, "You can stay here tonight. But this," I gestured around my apartment, "the life I built, this isn't yours. It never will be." That night, I slept in my office chair, listening to the faint hum of the city outside. My parents slept in my bed, my brother on the couch. It felt strange, like the roles had reversed completely. In the morning, they were gone. They'd left a note on the counter. "Thank you for letting us stay. We'll try to start over." No excuses. No pleas. Just a fragile acknowledgement of the past. I folded the note and placed it in my desk drawer, not as a keepsake of pain, but as a reminder of who I became. A few months later, I got another message, this time from my mother, a picture of them smiling in a small rented house. She wrote, "We're okay now, and we're proud of you." For the first time in years, I believed her. I realized something then. Sometimes walking away isn't about revenge. It's about survival. And sometimes the best revenge is simply living a life so full and steady that those who doubted you can only watch and wonder how you did it without them. A year later, I was standing on a stage at a local business event, being recognized for building one of the fastest growing creative startups in the region. Cameras flashed, people clapped, and in the crowd, I spotted my parents. They stood near the back, quietly watching. My mom had tears in her eyes. My father, usually so stiff and distant, gave me a small nod, the kind that said, "I finally see you." After the ceremony, they approached me. My father shook my hand, his voice trembling. "You made us proud, son." I didn't need to say anything. That moment said enough. I wasn't the failure they once threw out. I was living proof that rejection can become fuel. As I left the hall that night, I looked up at the city lights. Everything I had built came from pain, from being told I wasn't enough. And now, every success reminded me that I always was. Some families break you to test you, but sometimes the broken pieces rebuild stronger than anything they ever imagined.